Hi, everyone. Welcome to Heavy Metallurgy. Today we have a really special treat for you. Sitting right here is Alex Bouks, currently of Immolation, and my husband, John Verica. So we're going to talk a little bit about Alex and his various bands and his whole history as a well-known metal musician. So first of all, Alex, how did you guys meet, and tell us a little bit about coming up in the Philly scene?
I believe, well, originally my old singer Chris Gamble of Gorephobia, and and that kind of happened, I think, through Hellwitch because Hellwitch was coming up to do some
That's right.
shows.
Yeah, Helwich was driving up from South Florida and they drove straight up to when I lived in South Philadelphia. And they came to my place first. They were ultimately going to stay with Chris Gamble of Gorephobia at the time. And they came over to my house and like, do you know Chris? And I was like, well, I know Gorephobia. I filmed them before. And I didn't know the guys yet. And then Chris came over, and then through Chris, I met Alex. Yeah.
Yeah, rest is history.
Yeah.
5 years later.
35 years.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I know that Gorephobia was a very influential death metal band at the time. How did you get that going, and like what got you into death metal to begin with?
So the band started in, I believe, June of 1988, and it started out of the ashes of a previous band, Infamy, which few of the members were in the band, including myself, Chris, Henning Petrowski, and our original singer, Kevin Brennan. Kevin was actually the singer of a local thrash band called Nemesis. He also sang in the band Executioner, which was kind of pre-Infamy as well. So yeah, basically I left Infamy because of the drummer Frank Gamble, who was Chris's brother. He wanted to play hardcore music, and I had no problem with hardcore. I love hardcore music, but it just wasn't the type of music I wanted to play. And I wanted to play the more dark, heavy stuff, and he wanted to do that. So I basically stepped down and said I'm going to start my own thing. And then maybe a week after that, I was on the phone with Chris one day, and Chris was like, "I'll go with you," and he came with me. And then the singer Kevin Brennan also came along, and then we got a drummer, our first drummer, Mike, which I could never remember his name, still his last name. So
Hunt.
yeah. So as far as getting into death metal, I mean, the term was used then, but it wasn't so much, I guess, of a genre then as what it would become. But I was, obviously, I was geared to the more dark stuff like Destruction, Creator, Sodom, uh, Bathory, Celtic Frost, Hellhammer, and then I got into the tape trading scene in 1986, and I discovered this whole other world that I didn't know exists because I just had bands that had, albums out and stuff. So I started to realize that there was these bands that were even darker and more extreme than some of the bands that I knew of at the time that were putting out records. So I guess there was bands like Insanity from California, Pentagram from Chile, Master slash Death Strike from Chicago, Devastation from Chicago, Slaughterlord from Australia, and then obviously Death, which that was one of the first demos I got was the Death Infernal Death demo, which came out in 1985 actually. And I think that was the last recording with Rick Ross and Cam Lee, actually, was that demo. So that demo really just exposed me to all of the world. And, obviously I got more into bands that were putting out demos, and so much bands were putting out records at the time. And, I just wanted to play the darkest and heaviest stuff I could
Right.
do. And then obviously through tape training, you find other like-minded bands and people, in the scene that whether they were in Sweden or they were in the States or England or, places like that. So
Remember the zine you used to do
yeah,
with Chris?
Regurgitation. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was in from 88 to 89.
Yeah. Alex used to do a paper fanzine in the
Yeah.
80s. Yeah. Out of Philly.
And actually, my one of the first interviews I did was Bob Immolation. 'Cause,
Yeah,
you know,
and he's come full circle.
yeah, so they just did the 88 demo,
Mhm.
and I did an interview with Bob because I was in touch with rigor mortis pre Immolation, Andrew Sack, who was the bass player vocals of rigor mortis. So I knew him because of trading, and Sack did a fanzine as well called The Chapel, I believe. And so yeah, interesting how things happen.
Yeah, and then there was a club down in Pennsauken, New Jersey called G. Willikers, which I had gotten to a few times to see some bands there, even though I lived up in North Jersey. But I understand that you guys played there a lot, and it was kind of a central point for the death metal scene in this area.
Yeah, now at the time we briefly our friend Ann Bowman was managing us, or she was on the verge of managing us, and we knew her from a record store she had called
Rock and Roll Plus.
Rock and Roll Plus, yeah. And at the time she had never heard any of the kind of music that we're into, so me and Chris would actually like tell her stuff to get in her shop, or then we started introducing her to her demo bands. So she found this club in South Jersey, and it was basically just like some thrash bands and maybe some glam stuff or whatever that were playing there in Pennsauken, New Jersey. So she was going to start booking shows there. So we basically said, hey, we can put you in contact with certain bands, or we'll facilitate and bring them. And one being Immolation, there was Apparition, which became Sorrow from New York, Primeval from New York,
Good band.
Ex Mortis, Fatal,
All good bands.
Yeah, eventually Hell Witch, and
Mhm.
Cannibal Corpse we brought there. I mean, a lot of stuff. So and eventually she would start taking things on her own, obviously, as far as like contacting bands and stuff. But in the beginning, it was through me and Chris just started to kind of like, put her in contact with certain bands that we knew. Nuclear Death came out from Arizona to play out
I
there.
remember that.
Yeah, so it kind of started something fresh. I mean, because at the time there wasn't really a club that catered to that kind of music, and I think most of the people that came there weren't even aware of that kind of music. So yeah, it was a pretty short-lived, amazing time.
Yeah, I can imagine. So eventually you left Gorephobia. What were some of the other bands you did after that?
After Gorephobia, started a band called Ancient, and that was myself, Jay Lawrence, and Derek Roddy, who went on to play in like Nile and Hate Eternal, and yeah, I mean he's obviously most people know him in the drum world now as one of the best drummers on the planet for the most part. But at the time, he was he was on, and I had a record deal with Relapse at the time through Gorephobia, but me leaving the band, they decided they're going to take on my new band, and they put me in touch with Derek, because I think Derek was the guy that was lined up to join Napalm Death at the time, and they wound up getting Danny in the band. But they were looking at him. I don't know how that worked out. I had to ask Derek about that, or you would have to ask Derek about that. But yeah, so put me in touch with Derek. Derek originally is from South Carolina, from
Yeah, I
Columbia.
remember him.
So Derek is now, in Florida. He does tons of drum clinics, and he's played with everybody. But he's actually a snake breeder.
Him and Kerry
So,
King.
Yeah, so he has like a big
That's cool.
like warehouse or whatever of all the snakes that he breeds. But so yeah, so I went down to South Carolina, and obviously that fell apart. I mean, I've done a lot of stuff, not just metal. I mean, rock and roll, and stuff like that along the way. Uh, Eventually, I joined Incantation. Did tours for Master. That was a big deal for me because Paul Speckman was a big influence on me uh, from the '80s. Through tape training and stuff. So it was really cool to play in a band with him and play all these songs that were inspirational to me, so yeah, did that. I played with Funebrarum, who were out in New Jersey, which Funebrarum, some of the members of Funebrarum morphed into Ruinous, which I still do now. We have a new record written. We just have to get in the studio and record it. And then let's see, I don't know. It's
You've been in so much. I mean,
Yeah.
it's you lose track. Well, you're also doing Shadows and
Shadows,
Yeah.
which is me and Henny Petrosky. Henny is the original rhythm guitar player of Gorephobia. Also, he was the original rhythm guitarist in Infamy. So yeah, me and him, which is more of kind of like a dark heavy metal kind of rock influenced at times. I don't know.
Right.
It's hard to categorize what we do, but it's obviously on the dark side of things.
Then just backtracking for a minute, John used to do a video zine called Decaying Visions.
Yes,
And he was a huge supporter of that whole scene.
absolutely.
Aside from being friends with you guys, he helped to promote it through that zine.
Yeah.
So, any
And-
special memories from that?
The funniest, we're speaking of Ann Bowman, and Ann Bowman's house used to be the meeting place, like when Sepultura first came over to the United States, they went to Ann's and everybody was at Ann's. So Ann graciously let us use her bedroom to interview Gorephobia. And out of all the zines we did with Decaying Visions, it was only like 3. People love that interview the most with you guys because you were so down to earth, Gorephobia. They were funny and all. You could see it on YouTube. Somebody put up the old zine. I think it's on issue 1 or 2. One of those.
Spinal Tap.
Yeah, it was kind of a Spinal Tap moment and all. Yeah, it was good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Decaying Visions. I mean, first of all, John probably documented more stuff, at that time period than anybody on video as far as
I was YouTube
definitely.
before YouTube.
Yeah.
That's right.
YouTube.
And then, doing his video zine, really kind of got things out there, like especially, back in those days, you really didn't have any visuals except for like fanzines and pictures and stuff. So to actually see the guys talking in interviews and seeing the bands perform, so it was,
Yeah, that's why we did it.
Deal.
Everybody had paper fanzines, and we thought Chris Bate and I did Decaying Visions. We
Yeah.
thought this is the way to go. Before I had Decaying Visions, I did thrash metal with 2 guys, Skip and this guy Nick in the 80s. And I wanted to do more heavy, darker stuff. So we did Decaying Visions.
Yeah, and aside from the zine, you just filmed so many bands playing.
Yeah, I film bands, parties, interviews. I have a
So,
walk-in closet full of
It's
stuff.
full
Yeah.
of,
If I knew how to digitize this stuff, I would.
and that to me is just history right there.
Yeah, quite a bit.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
somebody
Thank you.
you were documenting all of this as it was happening.
Yeah,
which is-
and I did it to promote the scene. That's what I wanted to do. I want people to
Yeah.
share the music I like with people I liked and turn them on to. And I used to turn a lot of people into
Mhm.
bands, that they didn't know existed at the time. Because there wasn't an internet, as you know, back at that time.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So fast forward to present day, you've been in Immolation for a few years now, and I want to talk about that. But
Well, I joined the band in 2016, so it'll be coming up on 10 years now. Yeah, I mean, they're just, some of my longest friends and, the family to me. So, yeah, it was a no-brainer when I was asked to join the band because, I mean, number one, because of my friendship with them. And number two, musically, definitely a lot in common there as a guitar player, playing that style. So it's kind of like at home for me as far as that approach to playing death metal. But yeah, it's been an amazing ride. We're working on a new album right now, actually.
excellent.
Hopefully get that out by the end of the year or something.
Mhm.
And yeah,
And
yeah,
You got this out.
yeah, we have this thing
Um,
here.
Former Metal Maniacs writer Kevin Stewart-Pankow wrote this
Yep,
with the guys, and they're in town for a book signing right now. So it's awesome.
yeah. Today would be day 2 of the book signing at the Decibel Metal and Beer Fest.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think Kevin did an amazing job. Now, Kevin's an amazing writer, but he's also you know, does merch for us on tour.
Mm.
So he knows us pretty damn well. You know,
Yeah.
he spends so many tours with us over the years, and he's just kind of like another member of the band in a sense, you know. So he has firsthand knowledge. So, there's nobody more perfect to write a book about the band than Kevin, and I think he did an amazing job. And it basically takes you from the beginning of the band till present day, to the last record. And it's hard to compile 30, 38 years
And
or
they're
whatever,
40 years.
of the band's history into 500 pages or whatever it is. And but that being said, I think there's a lot of great information in there from the early days up until till now. And so yeah, it's definitely a cool read for sure. So
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait to read it. And I know that you're also doing your own podcast.
yeah. So I'm a guitar nerd, and I doing interviews talking about the history of metal over the years. You just kind of get bored of that. I'm really enthusiastic about guitars and guitar equipment and all that kind of stuff. And not just that, just it doesn't even have to be geared towards metal or whatever. It's just about musical inspiration and what makes people tick, to pick up the instrument. And so I've been watching some podcasts over the years, and that's mainly what I watch. If I'm watching YouTube, it's like guitar, podcasts and things like that. So I just thought, well, it'd be a cool idea to start one. And my good friend Roger Sutherland in Virginia, me and Roger originally met because I was looking for when I moved to where I live now in Virginia for a guitar repair guy, and I just found him through Google. And took him one of my guitars. He did an amazing job, and we just kind of like hit it off, like as a person. Like I really liked him, and we both share the same enthusiasm for guitar. And so then he was just like, "Hey, I'll do the podcast with you." And we've been doing it for a year now. We've had a lot of really cool guests and a lot of cool subjects. It's a lot of fun, man. I really enjoy it, and I really just enjoy my time doing the show with Roger. And so we're called the Guitar Gear Locker, and so we're on YouTube, we're on Apple Music, we're on Spotify. So yeah, you can find us on all those formats, and we have a page on Facebook, and on Instagram as well.
And you
So,
go live at 9 o'clock on Thursdays, right?
yeah, usually 9:30
Okay.
on every Thursday night. Eventually, we both would like to do more.
Yeah.
Spend more time. It's just, for me, on a personal level, it's difficult because I'm a full-time dad at home, and so it's kind of hard to make time, to do more stuff like that. But eventually we will. And yeah, it's just man, it's really a lot of fun, and yeah, just of all the really cool stuff we've done just in the past year, and planning on doing a lot more.
All right, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, Alex. Well, thanks for sitting with us, and good luck on your book signing and on the new album.
Yeah.
And we'll
Thank
see you
you.
on tour soon too.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
You will. Yeah.
Take care.